Actually, remember how we were talking about, Sword Art Online before? There is this one that I wanted to have a look at.
Love it or hate it, Sword Art Online.
When one character transforms an anime. Yu-Gi-Oh is the best character in all of SAO. You can fight me on this. I will not change my mind on that. I will always stand by this fact. Yuki is also a pretty good character, but Yu-Gi-Oh straight up just changed the entirety of how I felt about SAO. Anyway, let's have a listen.
Love it or hate it, Sword Art Online has never lacked incredible ideas. Today, I'm going to talk about one
I don't know about that. I don't know if Fairy Dance was that incredible.
Doesn't get brought up as often as it should. One that changed SAO for the better, and something that more anime should try to emulate. You'll learn why throughout this video, and why the addition of Yu-Gi-Oh is far more ambitious than you might have thought. Before getting into the idea itself, let's talk about Yu-Gi-Oh the character, because that sets the stage for why the change works. When the third season of SAO begins, you literally think...
I read the light novel before the anime came out. When the light novel for Alicization started, and it was like... I had no idea what was going on. I was like, did I miss a volume? What the fuck is going on? Who is Yu-Gi-Oh? Why are we cutting a tree? Because at the start, it doesn't make... There's no explanation of the game. The explanation doesn't come until like a couple of chapters later, or in the anime case, a couple of episodes later.
You're watching the wrong show. Not only has the animation had a major glow up,
Very
we
true.
open in a fantasy world with two randos we've never seen before, and Kirito is a child. What the hell does any of this mean? It means we're about to get peak SAO. That's what. That opening scene shows Kirito, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Alice, all as childhood friends. This is extremely important because everything that happens all season long and...
I read of all of Alicization up until War of Underworld, when the fan translation stopped due to officials beginning. Yeah, I think it was in the same boat as well.
All of Yu-Gi-Oh's character ties back to what happens here. After stumbling upon two knights fighting, Alice accidentally stumbles into forbidden territory called the Dark Territory, which is a violation of the Taboo Index, a set of rules everyone in this world is beholden to.
Except
no big
Kirito.
deal though, right? A kid touched some sand. Who cares? Well, in typical government fashion, she's taken away and scheduled for execution. When Kirito and Yu-Gi-Oh attempt to intervene, Yu-Gi-Oh can't. Not only is he terrified, his legs are frozen, and he feels a searing
Because of the
pain in
Taboo
his eye.
Index, yes.
The next time we see him, 6 years have passed. Kirito is forced to return to the underworld, which is essentially VR with AI so advanced.
Right. In the game, he also doesn't have his memories initially.
They are literally living beings themselves, and he bumps into Yu-Gi-Oh, who doesn't remember him at all. Like many anime characters, we're starting from the bottom here. Yu-Gi-Oh is weak, compliant, and complacent. He still feels guilt over allowing Alice to be taken, but has no way of doing anything about it. In this world, you're given a calling, one you're unable to abandon. His is woodcutter. His entire existence revolves around cutting down the Giga Cedar, a tree that has stood
I forgot it was called the Giga Cedar, the Giga Chad tree.
for 300 years and is nowhere near completed. If it takes him his entire life, so be it. That's what the rules say, therefore they are. Ironically, SAO's most ambitious character idea, early on, has no ambitions. But Kirito changes that. The two quickly become friends. Yu-Gi-Oh still
Teaches him
feels in
sword
his
skills
heart
fairly
that
early on, I
Alice is
believe.
alive, and he wants to save her. Kirito wants to help Yu-Gi-Oh. To speed up the woodcutting process, they attempt to take down the tree with the legendary Blue Rose Sword, a sword Yu-Gi-Oh had found that once belonged to the great hero Broccoli, a man that their village was named after. Work smarter, not harder.
Oh,
right?
I forgot it was Broccoli's sword.
They can barely lift that sword. However, the arrival of Kirito stirred something in Yu-Gi-Oh. When Alice's sister is taken by goblins, Yu-Gi-Oh finds himself in a similar position to the worst moment of his life, and once again, he's terrified. However, fear and inaction cost him Alice. He can't let that happen again. He decides to fight and protect the people he cares about. While this shift is extremely important for his character, it's important to note, bro gets his ass kicked. His mind is stronger.
He does, doesn't he?
but his body's still weak. And if not for Kirito giving him life energy, he would have died right there. He understands he needs to get stronger and trains his sword skills with Kirito. He works.
Here's the thing about SAO, right? Like, in the first arc, Klein could have been the Yu-Gi-Oh! Light character, but Kirito was such a fucking bitch back then. He was like, I'm a solo gamer. I don't play with people. I'm a beater. And, like, you lose out on that amazing bro character that Klein could have been. But luckily, the idea was readdressed with Yu-Gi-Oh!
His ass off day and night, in heat or in rain, and due to his efforts, he eventually wields the Blue Rose sword. With it, he cuts down the Giga Cedar in days. I want to focus on this part for a bit because it's important. Imagine your entire life was dedicated to a single task, one that presumably would last until the day you die. It's all you've known from birth. How would you react to that task being completed? Would you feel free, or would your life now feel aimless? One thing I like about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is he takes the ambitious route. He can do anything now, and he chooses to become a swordsman. Not only will that require lots of discipline and effort, but there's a specific goal behind it. In his mind, he failed Alice. Her family has suffered because of him, and now he's going to save her. He and Kirito spend months training and enroll in these
The only problem I have with the training school is the light novel had a lot of extra fights that ended up being cut. I think they were shown in flashbacks a little bit later, but there was like a whole tournament arc at the school, which should have fleshed out some of the other people they trained with.
Sword Mastery Academy. They spend a year as underlings
Like her.
before taking on underlings of their own. Yu-Gi-Oh's is Tisei. Nobles at the academy, Rios and Umber, look down on Yu-Gi-Oh for his lack of rank and challenge him to a duel. When Yu-Gi-Oh's about to win, the fight is abruptly called off to spare their fragile egos. In response, they abuse their underling who is friends with Tisei. When Yu-Gi-Oh finds out about this and stands up to them, it motivates Tisei to do the same.
They had to make cuts somewhere? They didn't really. Does Asuna not exist in Alicization or something? So Asuna doesn't even know where Kirito is at this point. Like, Asuna straight up doesn't even know that Kirito is, like, in a game. She finds out later.
Douches do not take that well. Because of their noble status, no one beneath them is allowed to attack them under the taboo index. It is a criminal act to do so. Knowing this, they take advantage of it. They pin Tisei and her friend down and force themselves on
Normal
these two
SAO
helpless
stuff,
girls
yep.
in front of Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Once again finds himself in a position where someone he cares about is in danger and he's frozen. This time is different though. Attacking goblins to save Alice's sister was scary, but not illegal. If he acts here, he'll be imprisoned. It goes to show how oppressive the taboo index really is. But he made up
This
his
is such a
mind
fucking
long
good
ago
scene.
to fight to protect his loved ones. He attempts to defy the index, which is restricting him through pain in his eye. The more he struggles to intervene, the more pain he feels. He does this until his eye explodes. Now he's able to act freely where he slices Umber's arm clean off. I cannot overstate how crazy this scene was. To have the resolve to suffer
I forgot how badly censored it was when it first came out.
through your eye exploding is next level shit, and showed how strong his convictions were. However, like I said, this was a crime. So Yu-Gi-Oh and Kirito await their imprisonment by an integrity
And they meet
knight,
Alice
only
again.
to realize that knight is Alice, and she doesn't
Who had
remember
lost her memories,
anything
yeah.
about them. They manage to quickly escape imprisonment, but
Yeah, there's no security in this prison. Like, there's no guards. The doors aren't locked. They just leave.
another knight comes for them. Yu-Gi-Oh recognizes him and starts rattling off memories of that knight's family, which messes with his head, and they escape. We'll get back to that. It's then that they learn the reason behind Alice's loss of memories and the history of their world. If they want things to change, they have to check out the administrator, Quinella. It's fitting that she stands atop a giant tower.
In some of the, there's a Alicization game where Quinella actually becomes like a party member. Like, these Sword Online games are straight up just fan fiction. They're like, hey, what would happen if we just had, like, every single character who's died, who's in different games? What if they just all joined the same game? Oh, you want to have Sinon with a sniper in the same game as Quinella? Sure, why not? Let's just have fun, do it.
And for Yu-Gi-Oh, this has been one long uphill climb. to achieve a destiny he didn't initially believe in. As they climb the tower, they again come face to face with Alice, and she's ridiculously powerful. This is not the same person from 6 years ago, physically or mentally. Yu-Gi-Oh makes a desperate ploy to use the full extent of his abilities, but it's to no avail. Then Kirito and Alice are removed from the fight, and Yu-Gi-Oh continues to climb the tower.
Right.
Which brings him face to face with Brodie. It's one of my favorite fights in the series. First, because of the meaning behind it, Yu-Gi-Oh is standing up for what's right by fighting a hero his people worshipped, who has been corrupted by the administrator. Second, because the way the fight plays out is symbolic. Integrity Knights, when taken in by Quinella, lose a lot of their individuality in service to her.
Hello?
It's that exact reason that Brodie loses the fight. It's Yu-Gi-Oh's outside the box and individual thinking that tricks him, allowing Yu-Gi-Oh to freeze his foe, though it did also cause him to pass out too. That's when he hears his mother's voice, hearing her say he killed his family, and you see his hands drenched in blood. It's a nightmare, but again, you see how consumed by guilt
He's
he
taken
is.
over by Quinella.
When he wakes up, he's lying next to Quinella. Then she comes to and instantly begins
Then
manipulating him.
then she comes to.
Through his insecurities, and then by twisting his memories. She tells him he's never been truly loved, but she'll give him all of her, the love he's always desired, and he submits to her. Watch out for the crazy ones, guys. It's always the crazy one. Yu-Gi-Oh is now an Integrity Knight. That's not an act either. Yu-Gi-Oh fights Kirito and Alice, but thankfully facing the two people he cares about most.
Why did his eye come back? Why did his eye come back, actually? That's a good question. I actually don't remember. Maybe someone healed it? I actually don't know.
Him to slowly regain his senses. Feeling the guilt of
because Alice is missing her
being
eye.
Manipulated, he freezes them so that he can go kill Quinella himself. Unfortunately for him, he doesn't have the power to do so. As has always been the case, he's too weak, which makes it so fitting that he uses all of his power to become the weapon that defeats her. He literally transforms into a sword that Kirito uses to slay her, and it's their combined might that takes her down. In the process, that sword is destroyed, meaning Yu-Gi-Oh will die as well. Before he does, he finally understands what love is, and it's not the transaction Quinella made it out to be. It's not something you get, it's something you give. He gave himself up for Kirito and Alice. He had to. The Alice that exists now is not the same Alice he searched for, but that doesn't make her any less worthy of living. He never would have stopped trying to bring back the old Alice, and Kirito would have never stopped fighting to save the current version. Before he dies, he asks Kirito where he is and if he's still there, and it's really sad to watch, but it's also touching because when Yu-Gi-Oh passes, he meets the child version of Alice in the afterlife, and they pass on together. In the end, he found who he was looking for after all. His death is still impactful going forward too. His sacrifice allowed Kirito to defeat the administrator, which changes the entire underworld. Even so, Kirito ends up catatonic for months.
Yeah, that was a good time. I enjoyed that.
And she becomes the lead of the next story arc. When the old supporting cast led by Asuna returns, which is amazing, and Kirito needs to save them, poetically, it's Yu-Gi-Oh's
then he pulls
soothes
himself out of a
Kirito's
coma.
guilt, letting him know it's okay to move forward despite what he's done, and brings him back. It's a hell of a full circle moment. His impact isn't limited to characters or the series either. The idea of Yu-Gi-Oh itself is incredible. He fundamentally changes what you can do in the series and how you can tell stories. In the first 2 seasons, his character doesn't exist. When he's introduced in Season 3, we're told early on he's AI. So think about this. They sideline the entire supporting cast from the
Fuck them all, they're all shit. No one gives a shit about... Who cares about fucking Silica or Elizabeth?
2 seasons, and replace it with an entirely new one in an AI world, all to tell the story of a character who isn't even real, and it's better than what came before it. When you go back and look at Alicization, it's not Kirito's story, it's Yu-Gi-Oh's. Not only did we change worlds, we changed leads. Kirito gets the big spots, sure, he is the main character of the series, but the season revolves around Yu-Gi-Oh! His character arc is the center of the story. His goals of finding Alice moves the plot forward, and his death concludes the story they set out to tell.
Yeah, Sinon shows up in Alicization. She's one of the She's one of the people that come to the world.
Alicization is about overcoming Yu-Gi-Oh's guilt.
Where was it? Where is it? Yeah, here it is.
Kirito needs to save them. Poetically,
No, I'm past it.
the old supporting cast led by Asuna returns, which is amazing.
Yeah, there she is. Yeah, she joins the game during the war.
Gets the big
With a
spots.
literal
he's the
god
main
character.
of the series, but the season revolves around Yu-Gi-Oh. His character arc is the center of the story. His goals of finding Alice moves the plot forward, and his death concludes the story they set out to tell. Alicization is about overcoming Yu-Gi-Oh's guilt. Kirito is simply the guiding hand to get him where he needs to go. To me, it's an ambitious gamble that paid off huge. Typically, characters are built up over time before getting prominent roles. I wonder if Yui was kind of a test to see if a character like Yu-Gi-Oh could work. It's far less common for someone to pop up, become a lead, have an entire season centered around their story, and then dip out while maintaining an impact on what happens next. I'm sure it's not the only time something like that has happened, but it's hard to think of one where the results were this effective. The way Yu-Gi-Oh changed the story is something that I really admire as a storyteller. With that, I'm out.
Where is it? Give me a second. What volume can we find him in? Ah, yes. Yes. The totally I'm not Yu-Gi-Oh character. No, this is legally distinct Yu-Gi-Oh. He's definitely dead. Don't worry about it. He didn't get reincarnated. No. That never happened. No, definitely not. And literally everyone that died in Alicization's literally just got reincarnated, basically, in the next arc.